In the grand strategic cogitators of the Imperial War Masters, the Warlord Titan is classified as a god engine. It is a bipedal city of destruction, standing 100 meters tall, capable of leveling civilizations with a single volley of its volcano cannons. Its armor is impenetrable. Its void shields can shrug off nuclear fire. Its war horn sounds like the death rattle of a planet. There is nothing, the strategists claim, that can halt the advance of a Warlord Titan once it begins its march to war. The strategists, however, forgot to account for Traffic Warden Clive 9 Theta. This is the story of the Imperator Irae, a machine built to kill gods, and how it was brought to a standstill because it was idling in a red zone on a Tuesday between the hours of 0700 and 0900. The setting of Hive World Omelos, specifically the Victory Boulevard, a massive 12-lane highway currently being used as the primary invasion route for the traitor Legio Mortis. The Imperator Irae, piloted by Princeps Volturnus, was stomping down the highway. Every footfall crushed the pavement into powder. Buildings shook. Cars, or what remained of them, were flattened like aluminum cans. Inside the amniotic tank of the cockpit, Princeps Volturnus felt the surge of divine power. "I am the walking death," Volturnus whispered, his mind merged with the machine spirit. "I am the end of days, targeting the orphanage." But then a warning rune flashed on his retinal display. It wasn't a missile lock, it wasn't a void shield collapse. It was a proximity alert located near the Titan's left toe. "Engine seize," Volturnus commanded. The Titan ground to a halt, servo motors whining like dying whales. Steam vented from the massive legs, fogging up the entire district. "What is it?" Volturnus barked at his motorati. "Are the Loyalists deploying Melta charges? Is it a trap?" "No, my prince," the sensor officer replied, confused. "It appears to be a man in a high-visibility vest. He is waving a glow baton." 50 meters below, standing amidst the rubble and the crushed remains of a Chimera tank, stood Senior Traffic Warden Clive. Clive was a man who possessed the kind of physique usually described as aerodynamic, which is a polite way of saying he looked like a stick insect that had been starched. He wore the sacred vest of the Administratum Traffic Division, luminous yellow, reflecting the fires of war with strict neutrality. He blew his whistle. It was a standard-issue plastic whistle. Against the roar of a plasma reactor, it should have been inaudible. But Clive blew it with the moral certainty of a man who knows the law is on his side. Fweet! Clive tapped his data slate. He looked up at the metallic mountain that was blocking the sun. He adjusted his cap. It is worth noting for the record that traffic wardens in a Hive City are bred for a specific kind of fearlessness. You cannot survive a job where your daily duties involve clamping the wheels of gang bikers and nobles' limousines unless you have had the part of your brain responsible for self-preservation surgically removed and replaced with a copy of the highway code. Clive marched up to the massive, house-sized toe of the Titan. He slapped it with his gloved hand. "Oi!" Clive shouted up at the knee joint, which was floating somewhere in the clouds. "You can't park here! This is a bus lane!" Inside the Titan, the Princeps frowned. The external audio sensors picked up the shout. Did the ant speak?" Volturnus asked. "I believe so, Prince," the moderator confirmed. "He says we are in a bus lane. Logic banks are processing. Confirmed. This lane is designated for public transit vehicles carrying 12 or more passengers." "We are a legion of death!" Volturnus roared, his voice amplified by the Titan's war horns, shaking the glass out of every window in a 3-mile radius. "We do not yield to buses." The sound wave hit Clive. It blew his hat off. It ruffled his comb-over. It did not, however, ruffle his spirit. Clive picked up his hat. He dusted it off. He took out a piece of chalk. "Right," Clive muttered. "Noise pollution. Use of unauthorized horn in a residential zone. That's a Tier 2 violation." He reached up as high as he could and drew a white X on the Titan's toe. Then Clive went to the service elevator of the nearby Hab block. It was a rickety, open-air platform used for window washing. He hit the up button. The elevator slowly, painfully began to ascend the Titan. Inside the cockpit, the crew watched the little yellow dot rise. "Princeps," the tactician said. "He is climbing. Shall we swat him? Point defense bolters are active." "No," Volturnus said, fascinated. "Wait, I want to see what this creature does. Perhaps he is an emissary of the Loyalists, a messenger begging for mercy." The elevator reached eye level with the Titan's head, a terrifying skull-faced cockpit made of adamantium and hate. The machine hovered 50 meters in the air. Clive opened the little gate of the window-washing platform. He leaned out. He knocked on the void shield. Knock, knock. Now, technically, you cannot knock on a void shield. It is a field of energy designed to displace matter into the warp. But Clive's knuckles were reinforced by pure bureaucratic intent. The shield rippled. "Open up," Clive shouted, muffled by the energy field. "I need to see your license and registration." Volturnus toggled the external voxcaster to low volume, which was still loud enough to liquefy a grox. "Tiny mortal," the Titan boomed, "we have burned 1,000 worlds. Why should I not vaporize you where you stand?" Clive pulled a small, laminated book from his pocket. The Hive Omelos Municipal Traffic Bylaws, Revised Edition M41. Section 4, Paragraph A, he recited, reading through his spectacles. "Stationary obstruction of a primary thoroughfare during peak hours 0700 to 0900 constitutes a Class A obstruction. Look at the traffic behind you, mate. It's backed up to the spaceport." Volturnus checked his rear sensors. It was true. Behind the Titan, a massive column of Lehman Russ tanks, chimeras, and terrified civilian refugees was stuck in a gridlock. "We are an invasion force," Volturnus argued. "We create the traffic." "And you're creating a bottleneck," Clive pointed out, clicking his pen aggressively. "Look, I don't make the rules. The governor makes the rules. You're blocking the flow. I'm going to have to issue a citation." "A citation?" The Titan's machine spirit grows, a low subsonic rumble of fusion reactor rage. "You wish to fine a god?" "I wish to keep traffic moving," Clive corrected. "Now, are you the driver, or are you just waiting for your mom?" Princeps Volturnus felt a vein throb in his temple. He had engaged Tyrannid bio-titans. He had dueled Eldar phantoms. He had never been asked if he was waiting for his mother. "I am Princeps Volturnus. I am merged with the machine." "Right, merged," Clive wrote on his pad. "So, no valid driver's license presented. driving a heavy goods vehicle without proper identification. Is this vehicle insured? Insured? In case of collision, Clive tapped the glass shield. You stepped on a rhino transport back there. The owner is going to want details. Do you have a policy number, or do I have to impound this? Impound? Volturnus screamed. You cannot impound a Titan. We weigh 3,000 tons. We have big clamps, Clive warned darkly. Don't test me, sir. I once clamped a Baneblade. The crew had to walk home. Now, move this vehicle to the designated heavy load parking zone in Sector 4, or I call the tow servitors. The Princeps looked at his dashboard. He had weapons that could level a Hive spire. He could incinerate Clive with a thought. But there was something terrifying about the man's confidence. What if he did call the tow servitors? What if there was some ancient pre-heresy law that actually allowed him to tow a Titan? The bureaucracy of the Imperium was ancient and nonsensical. It was entirely possible that a traffic warden outranked a Princeps in the specific jurisdiction of double parking. Volturnus hesitated. The god machine paused. And in that pause, Clive stuck a bright pink sticker onto the Titan's void shield. It read, "Violation recorded. Do not remove under penalty of law." "First warning," Clive said, pressing the button for the elevator to go down. "If you're still here in 5 minutes, I'm getting the boot." 5 minutes passed to Princeps Volturnus sitting in his command throne 50 meters in the air. They were minutes spent recalibrating targeting arrays and venting plasma coils. To Warden Clive, standing on the pavement, they were a grace period mandated by City Ordinance 4B. The clock ticked. Clive checked his chronometer. It beeped. "Time's up," Clive murmured. "Right, no more Mr. Nice Warden." He keyed his Vox speed. "Dispatch, this is Clive in Sector 7. I have a 1099 in progress. Unauthorized, oversized vehicle. Yeah, it's a big one. Class Z. Yeah, the walker? Nope, the really big walker. I'm going to need the heavy clamp team and send the big mule. Over?" Up in the sky, the Imperator Irae prepared to move. The Princeps had decided to ignore the little man in the yellow vest. War did not wait for bureaucracy. "Engage diesels," Volturnus commanded. "Full stride ahead. Crush the—" Clang. The Titan shuddered. It tried to lift its massive left foot, but something held it back. A grinding, metallic shriek echoed through the cockpit. "Malfunction," the moderator screamed. "Left actuator seize. Resistance detected on the motivator unit." "Is it enemy cable traps?" Volturnus demanded. "Harpoons?" "No, Prince. Sensors indicate a yellow device. It is clamped to the main hydraulic piston of the ankle." Volturnus looked down through the external cameras. There, dwarfed by the massive leg, were 4 industrial-grade Ogryns. They were shirtless, sweating, and wearing traffic enforcer caps that looked ridiculously small on their heads. They were currently tightening a clamp the size of a battle tank around the Titan's ankle joint. Clive stood below, directing them with his glow baton. "Tighten it up, lads," Clive shouted. "Give it another turn. I want that immobilizer locked in. Treat it like a land raider parked in a disabled bay." The Ogryns grunted, heaving on a wrench as long as a telephone pole. Creak, clunk. "The boot is applied," Clive yelled up at the cockpit. "That vehicle is now impounded. Do not attempt to operate or you will void your insurance." Inside the Titan, warning lights flashed. But they weren't the usual red warnings of combat damage. They were flashing orange. Warning, legal impediment detected. Warning, parking brake engaged by external authority. Warning, do not move. Fines may accumulate. The machine spirit of a Warlord Titan is a ferocious, bloodthirsty entity. It hungers for war. But it is also incredibly old and deeply dogmatic. It respects authority. And somewhere, deep in its ancient code, dating back to the dark age of technology, was a subroutine titled Respect Municipal Authority. Override it! Volturnus smashed his fist on the console. Step forward! Break the clamp! I can't, Princeps, the motorati cried, wrestling with the controls. It's afraid of litigation. It says movement prohibited pending fine payment. It is a machine god. It does not pay fines. Volturnus grabbed the manual controls. He forced the Titan to step. The reactor flared. The hydraulics screamed. Down below, Clive didn't flinch. He just held up a small red ticket. You moved, Clive shouted, pointing at the foot, which had scraped forward 2 inches. That's attempting to flee a scene of infraction. That's a serious offense, mate. Now you're in real trouble. Clive waved his hand towards the street corner. Bring in the mule. Around the corner came the saddest, ugliest vehicle in the Imperium. It was the recovery vehicle Theta 9. It was essentially a gargantuan tractor, rusted, leaking oil and spewing black smoke. It had Imperial Municipal Towing stenciled on the side in peeling white paint. It reversed towards the Titan with a beep, beep, beep sound that cut through the sound of artillery fire like a knife. Hook him up, Clive ordered. The tow servitor scrambled out, dragging chains the size of an anchor chain. They began attaching them to the Titan's shin. Inside the cockpit, the crew watched in disbelief. Are they going to tow us? The weapons officer asked, voice trembling. We weigh 2,500 tons, Volturnus whispered. That tractor cannot move us. It's not about the physics, Prince, the sensor officer said. It's the principle. Look at them. They are so confident. They have clipboards. Fire the turbo lasers, Volturnus snapped. Vaporize the tractor. Negative, the weapon system chimed. Target designated as friendly municipal service. Firing on traffic enforcement creates a paradoxical loop in the loyalty protocols. I am a traitor Titan, Volturnus screamed. We abandoned loyalty protocols 10 years ago. The machine spirit seems to have forgotten that bit, sir. It's reverting to default urban conduct mode. It thinks we are in a school zone. Clive finished writing on his slate. He tore off a long strip of paper. He slapped some industrial adhesive on the back. He walked to the elevator again. He rode up. Hum. He reached the cockpit. Knock, knock. Volturnus looked at the little man hanging outside his war machine. The man looked bored. "Ticket for you," Clive shouted. He slapped the ticket onto the void shield. Through the esoteric geometry of the shield technology, the paper stuck. It hung there, a bright yellow rectangle of shame on the face of the god machine. Clive leaned close to the glass. "You have 30 days to pay," Clive mouthed. "You can appeal in court, but between you and me, the judge hates giant robots, blocks the sunlight in his garden." Clive gave the cockpit a disappointment shake of the head, then descended. "Right," Clive said into his radio once he hit the ground. "Let's drag him. Release the parking brake on the mule." The rusty tractor revved its engine. Black smoke filled the street. It pulled on the chains. The chains went taut. The Warlord Titan, the pinnacle of Martian engineering, the destroyer of worlds, wobbled. It didn't move much, maybe a millimeter, but to Princeps Volturnus, that wobble was the end of his dignity. He was being towed, in front of the entire invasion force. A Chaos Knight walker stomped past them, heading for the front lines. The pilot slowed down to look at the Titan with the boot on its foot and the yellow ticket on its face. The knight let out a low, robotic honk of laughter. "Shut up!" Volturnus screamed over the comms. "Don't look at me!" The stalemate on Victory Boulevard had lasted for 20 minutes. In the grand scheme of the long war, 20 minutes is a heartbeat. But in the context of a traffic jam involving 4,000 traitor tanks and a disgruntled traffic warden, it felt like an eternity. Princeps Volturnus sat in his command throne, sweating into his interface cables. The Imperator Irae was not moving. The boot clamp on its ankle was holding firm, not because of physics, the Titan could have snapped it like a twig, but because of the crushing metaphysical weight of the parking ticket stuck to the void shield. Every time Volturnus tried to push the throttle, the machine spirit whispered in his mind, "Error, litigious hazard detected. Please resolve fine before operation." "They are looking at us," the Moderati whispered, pointing at the sensors. Below, the invasion force had stopped. Cultists were taking selfies with the immobilized God machine. A hellhound tank driver was honking his horn rhythmically. Even a rival Titan from the Legio Furians walked past, and its Princeps hailed them on the Vox just to ask if they needed a jump start. The humiliation was total. Volturnus realized he could not walk forward. He could not shoot, and he definitely could not pay the fine, as he did not carry 3 million credits in small change. "Call the extraction team," Volturnus whispered, his soul shrinking. "Extraction? But Princeps, we haven't even conquered the first district." "We are compromised," Volturnus roared. "Get us out of here before he brings the wheel clamps." High above, the clouds parted. A massive Mechanicum heavy lifter dropship descended. It was a coffin ship designed to carry Titans between worlds. It lowered its gargantuan magnetic grapples. Down on the street, Clive stopped writing on his clipboard. He tipped his hat back. "Hello," muttered Clive. "What's this then? Unauthorized aerial docking?" The grapples latched onto the Warlord Titan's shoulders. With a groan of tortured metal and anti-grav engines, the massive war machine began to lift off the ground. The chains of the tow truck snapped with a twang. The Titan hovered. Volturnus looked down at Clive. He opened the external Vox one last time. "You have not defeated me, mortal," Volturnus leaking into his god voice. "This is a tactical withdrawal. I shall return." Clive put 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled. "Fweet!" "You can't fly here," Clive shouted up at the ascending fortress. "This is a no-fly zone. There's a school nearby. You're vibrating the roof tiles." The Titan rose higher, engines screaming. Clive frantically tapped on his data slate. Flight without a filed flight plan. Heavy vehicle operating above deck level. Evasion of justice. The Titan was now a silhouette against the sun. Volturnus laughed, a broken, manic laugh of relief. He was free. He was safe in the sky, away from the man with the yellow vest. But Clive was not done. He reached into his belt pouch and pulled out his ultimate weapon, the macro stamp. He wrote out a ticket on a piece of paper the size of a towel. He slapped it onto a drone servitor. "Follow him," Clive commanded the drone. "Stick it on his exhaust port." The drone zipped up into the sky, chasing the retreating Titan like an angry hornet. The shadow of the Titan vanished. The traffic jam on Victory Boulevard began to clear. The Chaos tanks, terrified that they would be next, started driving with impeccable care, using their turn signals and strictly within the lanes. Clive dusted his hands. He picked up the giant yellow clamp that had fallen off the Titan's foot. "Right," Clive addressed the Ogryn tow team. "Good work, lads. Put the kettle on. I think that counts as our quota for the morning." He looked at the devastated city, the burning buildings, and the war raging in the distance. He checked his watch. "Still," Clive grunted, "could be worse. Could be Monday." The official records of the siege of Hive Omelos state that the traitor Titan Legion withdrew due to unforeseen supply chain issues. The truth, filed in the deepest, most boring archives of the Adeptus Arbites Traffic Division, tells a different story. We are told that in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. We assume that means the biggest gun wins. We assume that power comes from strength, from warp sorcery, from ancient technology. Traffic Warden Clive proves us wrong. Power is a performance. Authority is a magic trick. If you wear a high-visibility vest and carry a clipboard with enough conviction, even a god engine from the Age of Darkness will hesitate to cross you. The Chaos Gods rely on breaking the rules of reality. But they have no defense against a man who enforces the rules of the municipality. Order, in its most petty, bureaucratic, and annoying form, is the ultimate bane of chaos. Princeps Volturnus burned a dozen worlds. He slaughtered millions. But to this day, he still wakes up in a cold sweat, terrified that he has forgotten to feed the parking meter. The Emperor protects, but obeying the speed limit protects better. And it's cheaper. End recording. Filed under Victories, Municipal. Cross-reference, Titans, parking restrictions. Volturnus still owes 500 credits.